As sports has been around for God knows how long.
Hmm.
Sports betting has been around for God knows how long. But now with the invention of more of the apps, the more
Hmm.
legality of it all, from what DraftKings and FanDuel.
Yeah.
You posed a question, so Soto, I'm going to give the floor to you. What is your question or problem now with these sporting apps? What are you thinking?
I just think that nowadays, all my sports conversations have to involve you looking at your fucking parlays and like how you missed a parlay that almost made you like $6,000, $10,000. It's like, dude, I don't care. Like with the invention of this whole DraftKings things and FanDuel, it's like I feel like every single one of my sports conversations is no longer about teams. It's either about okay these parlays, which I still don't understand parlays, or people are like, oh I have to hit like a 4 leg parlay and I could have won like this and I would have been a fucking millionaire. No opinions on actually what the sport is. I feel like that fantasy football kind of started this a little bit too because I feel like in a lot of ways it's fine. I'm fine with fantasy football because you get to watch all the games, but like I don't get the sports betting thing. I know it's prevalent in Massachusetts. I think New Hampshire too.
Oh
Correct
yeah,
me if I'm wrong.
New Hampshire. Weirdly
Um,
enough, New Hampshire happened before Mass as far as the sports betting
I'm
DraftKings.
not trying to be like waving my fist in the air at a cloud, although I guess that's how we always come across. Um, but it's like we used to talk about sports, like sports talk radio, argue about certain things, who's the greatest this, who's the greatest that, the current things going on, how they compare the old players, all that stuff, what's going on here and there. And now it's like, even when I'm fucking watching sports, like they're like, oh, don't forget to go into fucking FanDuel or this other shit
Yeah.
or DraftKings. Meanwhile, like the subtitle underneath um, is just saying like, do you have a gambling problem? Please call this number. It's like you're creating the gambling problem. Like you're literally creating it right now and saying it's okay. And then obviously it's really funny because the players can't bet on it, but people can make millions of dollars betting on them, and then their owners also make millions of dollars and billions of dollars selling their rights to DraftKings and FanDuel and all that stuff, but the sports players can't. I get obviously the issues with that from a foundational standpoint, but dude, I am just so fucking tired of hearing about your DraftKings bets, not you, the royal you, like just people in general in the world. I'm so tired about hearing what your betting looks like and what you're going to hit on and who you hit on and all this stuff. I don't fucking care. So that's more of a soapbox thing, not really like a question, but just kind of
Yeah.
wondering what your opinion is on this. And I know you've done some of this, it's for free. I know you dabbled in it,
Yeah. Well,
but you can present the other side.
I will to a point because I do understand that, but I want to bring up something you said, and I do believe fantasy football kind of started this
Oh
descent
yeah.
into it because there's two, what I love about fantasy football. Once I kind of learned how it worked, is it involved me to learn about other teams and
Yes.
players, like what's going on.
Hmm.
Because if I wasn't doing fantasy, I would follow my Chicago Bears, and that's pretty much
And
it.
that's it.
I
That's it.
obviously living out here, I know about the Patriots and hear about that. Outside of but I wouldn't be paying too much attention to these other teams without a fantasy, which actually, in a weird way, has helped me enjoy it. It's like, oh my god, this guy, you see players that you might not normally see, or you read about, like, oh shit, he's doing good. Maybe, and
Sure.
you hope that your team picks him up. So there
Hmm.
is some good and bad. What I hated about fantasy, or people about fantasy, is I am a Bears fan first, and yes, I have had players on the. I try to stay away for the most part of drafting any Chicago players unless it's a good pick at the right time.
Mm.
But if I had like a QB that was facing the Bears, I'm still rooting for the Bears to win. Yes, I want my QB to do well. Well, I'm not rooting for anything else. If it's against my team, yes, it happens, and if I lose, whatever. If like the Bears win, that trumps me what winning or losing because I'm happy. But then when the sports book became legal, and that's kind of more what we're talking about with the parlays and I know I texted you a couple times when I won because I'm like, I somehow fucking won this because I won like $50 on the Celtics, all because and here parlays are very simple, Soto. You well, no. If you
Educate me.
don't know it, you don't know it. But here's the thing:
Yeah.
it's just you pick a day, you pick a game, um, and you pick maybe it's just like simple four things to happen. You can be like Patrick Mahomes throws for 300 yards, Travis Kelsey gets a touchdown, Kansas City gets 2 sacks, and total points combined 45. If you hit all four of that, you win whatever the odds, because obviously the odds get greater for each parlay. There's people who do fucking 10 pick parlays, and I don't mess around with like the long parlays. Sometimes when I got free money, I do. But that's why if Patrick Mahomes throws for 299 yards and you're 1 yard short, you get $0. So you might have hit on the other three, but you have to hit on all four. And that's pretty much what a parlay is. But when people are like, talking about this, I'm like, just bet on your team. Like, here's what I want to start doing next year. And I've been wanting to do this for 2 years, and I wish I had. But before let me ask you a question, Soto. And this is going to lead to
Sure.
what I say. You're a Patriots fan, and I'm just sticking with
Mm-hmm.
football. It's easier for me.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want them to win every game, but they can't win every game. But let me ask you something. How
Don't
much?
I know it?
And I'm trying to word this correctly because it's going to sound weird. But if you could give me a certain amount of money and the Patriots to win, how much? Like if I said every time the Pats win, would you give me $10? And you'd be like, would that be money well spent for you? Just say for every win, if they win, you lose $10. And you can pick a
What do
number.
I get out of this? That they
No, no,
just
no.
win?
You'll see. But would you say
Okay.
if you pay $10 for your team to win, would you say that's worth it? What's worth it for your team to win? Is basically what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
Is
sure.
it
Ten
five?
bucks sounds good.
$10 sounds
Ten
good.
bucks is fine. Yeah, ten
So
bucks.
here's the
It's like
thing.
$160 a year.
That's a well, if
It's
they
like
win. I'm
PlayStation
just talking about if they
subscription.
win. So say if they win 7 games, you only lose seven. But so why not do this? Why not take that $10 and say you're on a sports book and bet for the opposite team? Like not just straight up bet whatever the line is. Because if your team wins, okay, you just lost $10, but you're happy because your team won. If your team loses, well, you just won whatever that odds were. So like if it was just like plus 100, you just doubled your money. So I'm just like, why not bet against your team what you're okay, for paying? I'm broke like I don't want to say I'm broke, but you know what? I'm cheap like you sometimes. Like it takes me
I
so
see what
long
you're
to buy,
saying.
but I'm just like, okay,
Yes.
I would pay $10. I just use that number for example. For some people, maybe it's just five, 120, but you pit that on the opposite team because if your Pats win, yeah, okay, you lost that bet, but your Pats won, you are happy. You lost $10, which you would have lost. We would have lost in 2 beers back in the day, if that. 1 beer if you're actually at the fucking stadium. But say your Pats lose. Now, say your team goes 3-14, you just had 14 bets of $10 that hit. So you kind of gained money. Yes, you want your team to win, but you just all of
You
a
got a
sudden gained some money.
consolation? Like a
Exactly.
consolation
And I'm
prize?
like, I thought about this. I'm like, I think I might, and
That's
I
actually
thought
kind of
about this for the
fucking
last couple of
brilliant.
years. I just don't get into it. But yeah, so if your
It's pretty
team goes
brilliant.
perfect, you lost $107, 70, and you just whatever. But your team's 17-0. So I was like, I'm not saying bet 1,000 because I'm like, yeah, no, I love my Bears. I'm not betting $1,000 no matter how great the odds are. They could be playing the fucking junior high team. I'm like, somehow the Bears would fuck it up, but you know what I mean. I'm like, but yeah, $10. Like I could spend that a week. And I've been thinking about it. I'm like, I needed this. Obviously, being a Bears fan, I would make a little bit of decent money. As much as I love gambling and it's fun, I do not make it so I'm in a financial trouble because of it. Like it's just money. Like we used to always talk about. I spent more at Taco Bell. Like if I,
Yeah.
what's a
Oh
five
yeah.
dollars, $10? Like if I have, like, let me try. It's just like if you go to, like we used to play poker. If you do slot machines, some people
I just
bet on
think
like
that
every.
like for me, it's just like everything's about like something else, And I this is why I'm even thinking about not doing fantasy this year, coming up because I'm just fucking tired, dude. Like not to not to beat a dead horse today. Like
Fucking old man.
just tired. Like I just don't want to keep up with all this shit. Like before, it's like I would turn on my TV, I'd watch the game, somebody wins, somebody loses. I am not oblivious to the fact that people have been betting on sports since the dawn of sports. Of
Yeah.
course, that's why boxing got as big as it did, and that's why boxing ended up getting as corrupt as it did, was because of betting and everything like that and whatever. Um, but it's just so much, man. It's like everything's like about your fantasy team. Everything's about these bets. Now that it's like a lot more mainstream, it's just, oh my God, dude. It's too much. So, just every Sunday, having to watch your team and then also watching 18 different fucking teams. And, for people that have multiple fantasy football
I
teams,
never
like,
got
I don't
that.
know why you fucking do that. Because it's like, your brain is torn in so many different directions about what it wants to happen. I find that to be a very uncomfortable feeling. When I'm like thinking about, I have conflicting kind of desires and things like that. So I don't know. Again, old man yelling at the sky, but it is just like when it's everybody talking about it, and then when I watch sports, everybody's talking about it. It's just it gets very, very tiring.
I find it fun, especially in leagues where you know the people, because then you can talk shit, and that to me is
Yeah,
like
of
the
course.
best part. That's why I like the work ones, because it's like, hey, I fucking kicked your ass. Oh, I got my ass kicked. Huh? Good game. Hopefully next year, pack. Whatever. Just that's my opinion. If you're letting it ruin the experience and not having fun with it, like why are you doing it? Because that's the worst part to me. You know.
Don't just assume that the person you're talking to knows anything that you're talking about. That's my least favorite thing about those interactions. The same thing with like people who think I know about cars when they get into it about being like, oh yeah, and then this blah blah blah, and I'm just like sitting there like going like, what in gave you the idea that I fucking give a shit about anything that you're talking about in regards to cars, and why are we having this conversation so enthusiastically one-sided, putting me in a position where I now have to pretend like I know what you're talking about out of sheer politeness. So, same thing with sports betting. I'm sure this is probably a me thing, but just, again, I'm tired. I'm glad I know about parlays now, so this will help me out in my social life. When people come talk to me, at least I can kind of engage and go, "Oh, wow, man, sucks to be you. I wish you won that $6,000." That's another thing. I don't care. If you almost won $12,000, if you're not a friend of mine, I don't care. Like, I don't care. I have no sympathy for you. I mean, if you would have won, if anything, I would like resent you. So I don't care. Like, better luck next time. I don't give a shit.